Girls, what is the most intimate, non-sex thing you do with your partner?
He likes to call me different nicknames, one of them being Peach. So whenever he wants to cuddle, he says Peach time, and we cuddle and just lay there together. It's honestly one of my favorite things in the world.
Peach time is the cutest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It sounds like a euphemism for ass play.
My boyfriend loves cuddling, but jokingly maintains that it's a secret and he's a badass. So I've taken to calling him Snuggles the Jaguar to incorporate both.
I scratch his back and head. He was telling me how his mom would scratch his back, and it is a very intimate thing for him. His grandma would scratch his head until he fell asleep. Ever since he told me that, I've been trying my best to stay awake long enough that he falls asleep from head scratches too, as he has trouble falling asleep. Last night, I finally held out long enough. I could hear his breathing change and his body relax and felt him fall asleep under my hand, and I don't know why, but I was the happiest in the world because I could do something for him like that, someone I really care about. He told me I was amazing, and I just melted. I hope to do it more often. R. Edit. Thank you to everyone who replied. Many of these responses brought a smile to my face, and I wish I could respond to everyone. It makes me so happy to see that others enjoy this feeling as well, be it delivered through giving scritches or receiving. I hope those who wish for this kind of affection have it one day. Edit number 2, 2 years later. He has unfortunately passed away to suicide in June 2020. IDK why I find it necessary to edit this in. Maybe BC this comment brings me so much pain to read. Tell your loved ones you love them, check in on them.
I have literally put my son to sleep, watching him completely relax and then pass out while I rub his head and have thought, I hope you find a woman that will do this for you someday. I just never want him to be without that tenderness. And your comment just made my life. Edit. Fixed the word tenderness and thank you for the gold kind stranger. Made my night.
That's what my BF's mom said as well. I was over for dinner one night and we were all just sitting in the living room and I was scratching his head. His mom pointed out that he finally found a GF that will scratch his head in her place, and it was so cute and sweet. Ah, she's great, 3. Your son will know she's a keeper when he finds out she enjoys giving head scritches.
Literally sleeping together. That's not something I've done with another person for a very long time. Cuddling and eventually falling asleep in someone's arms is very intimate and requires quite a bit of vulnerability.
Requires quite a bit of vulnerability. Yep, I need to really trust you before I allow myself to drool on your shoulder while I sleep.
And fart.
And snore.
This, exactly. I used to get offended that my fiancé would be talking to me, cuddling, and just randomly fall asleep on me, until I realized that he is just so completely relaxed in my arms at the end of a long day that he can finally fall asleep peacefully, and that makes me feel so close to him now.
That is so sweet, and says a lot about how he feels about you.
I don't know if this counts, but I got my husband through his fight with Hodgkin's lymphoma and his relapse a year later. It was just him and me. We have a small support system, and none of them live locally. The relapse meant a bone marrow transplant. Shit. Is no joke. Literally brings you to the brink of death and back. My husband is a 6-foot strong Scottish man, and when we were in the thick of it, I had to push him in a wheelchair at the hospital because getting from the car to the door was all he could do. He looked nothing like himself either. Hairless, pale. I was bathing, dressing, feeding him, managing his many medications, and the side effects, violent vomiting, and getting him to and from the hospital on a daily basis. I have a very clear memory of helping him get into new PJs one morning and thinking, I knew I might have to care for him like this. But I also thought it would be in my 70s, not at the ripe old age of 34. Being a caregiver for your loved one in and of itself is a crazy, intimate experience. You see someone at their absolute worst, weakest, and somehow you find new strength in yourself at the same time. That ordeal changed us, obviously. We definitely have had a new level of intimacy since. It's bonded us in a way that I can't put into words. Edit. Wow. I am truly humbled, folks. I wasn't even sure if this thought belonged here, and your comments have brought me to tears. Thank you so much. I replied where I could, I definitely felt all the love. My husband has been cancer-free for 4 years this past September. It took a long time for him to shake the side effects from all the chemo, but as of earlier this year, we really feel like we've moved forward and left that battle behind us. For all of you fighting the good fight, or supporting Simone who is, we got our happy ending, and I wish that so hard for all of you. Stay strong. And gold, well shit. My first and second and third ever. Thank you, kind people. I am moved.
Wow, he is very lucky to have you. I know what it's like to be a patient, but I have a deep respect for caregivers. I hope he's doing well after the transplant.
I'm about to turn 34 and currently going through chemo. My husband and I have only been married for a year and a half. I haven't had nearly the intense experience you and your husband have, but it's been difficult nonetheless. My husband and I have become so close through all of this. He shaved his head when I lost my hair. His hair was longer than mine. He takes care of me and makes sure I'm always okay. There are times where we're each going through our own things separately, but we always come back together and talk about all the crazy shit we're thinking. It changes your relationship and really makes you realize how much you love each other. It's made me realize even more what an incredible person my husband is. I'm so sorry you had to go through so much, but so glad he has you and you have him.
My boyfriend swims nearly every day and the chlorine dries the crap out of his skin. So I spend a few minutes every day lotioning his back and ass so they don't get ashy. This is mostly non-sexual, but sometimes I pretend I'm a dude, and the lotion is my nut, with crazy humping and dirty talk. He doesn't like it when the turntables.
Oh, how the turntables.
I like to say to my guy in a low-groveled Mr. T voice, "Hey boy, you look mighty fine in them jeans." He hates it.
My boyfriend will drop his voice extra fucking deep and whisper really grossly in my ear that fucking song, "Hey little mama, let me whisper in your ear." It makes my body die.
When he wraps himself around me tightly while cuddling, spooning, and calls it maximum security. If I'm feeling sad, he'll tease me and be like, does someone need maximum security? It's very sweet.
I need maximum security. This is so wholesome.
This is so cute.
He plays love songs on the piano while I stand behind him kissing the back of his head. I almost cry sometimes. He's autistic and doesn't do verbal affection, but he finds ways to show me that he loves me.
Okay, this one got me.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
My boyfriend draws, and sometimes he draws me naked. Granted, it's a prelude to sex sometimes, but not all the time. It's super intimate, watching him quietly concentrate and do his work while sort of examining parts of me. I used to be super self-conscious, so just laying there and being out in the open is sort of freeing and IDK. Just feels close.
My grandfather painted my grandmother nude, and apparently my dad found it when he was a kid and drew a bikini over her privates. They were so mad at him.
My grandfather was a really talented artist, and he painted this amazing piece of my grandmother from when they were in high school that I just inherited. Although it's a little graphic, she's nude, it's my most prized possession because they've both passed. I just think it's so cool that you guys are doing that.
My boyfriend is a big guy with a lot of confidence, so it's very adorable when he snuggles up to me like he's teeny tiny. I'm also the big spoon 100% of the time. He can never know I posted this LOL edit. I told him because of all the unexpected upvotes, I thought this would be buried.
Girls aren't big spoons, they're backpacks.
My fiancé calls me his jetpack,
I think the most intimate thing happened during my second son's birth a few months ago. I had given birth quickly and easily, but then began hemorrhaging. They stood me up to go to the bathroom and blood began pooling down my legs and feet. Immediately back in bed, giving me shots and meds to try to stop it, but it wouldn't. The nurses were scared and a team ran in. My husband laid the baby down and held my hand. I was terrified I was dying and leaving them. I just kept looking into his eyes and telling him I was so scared, and he stayed calm and smiled and reassured me. I'm so lucky. They found a piece of retained placenta and were able to give me a second epidural and manually remove it. But I ended up losing almost 800 milliliters of blood. I really thought those could be my last moments, and I just locked eyes with him, trying to communicate everything I needed him to know about our family and my sons, but too scared to say any of it out loud. It was the most intimate moment of my life.
So glad you're all right. Congrats on the baby. Your hub sounds like a trooper. Was just what you needed.
I'm not crying. Okay, I'm totally crying. Congratulations on your new baby boy, and what a strong hubby you have. You guys sound like a beautiful couple and family.
Taking care of me when I was sick? We've been together for about a year and don't live together. I had to cancel plans because I had the stomach bug, diarrhea, and throwing up. And he came over and took care of me. Any man that can witness his girl sitting on the toilet and head in a trash can and still want to cuddle you and love on you is a keeper.
Sometimes people say they would die for each other, but what people really need is someone who would help you off the toilet and cuddle you afterwards.
Getting dressed for the day or undressed for bed together. Having deep, meaningful conversations on the couch. He scrubs my back before I get in the shower. I shave his lower back for him after a health issue necessitated it.
Not at all prying, but now I'm wondering what kind of health issue necessitates a shaved lower back.
Others. Stop reading now if you get grossed out. From WebMD. There's a type of cyst you can get at the bottom of your tailbone, or coccyx. It's called a pilonidal cyst, and it can become infected and filled with pus. Once infected, the technical term is pilonidal abscess, and it can be painful. Per his doctor, after it was treated, he needed to keep the area of his tailbone hair free to reduce the risk of getting another one, so I shaved the top of his butt crack for him.
That's love.
Talk. Just literally open my mouth and let the most random, uncensored stream of consciousness shit pour out, oftentimes working through things or saying things out loud to process them, and I never, rarely, feel like I'm being judged. I don't recall a time in my life that felt so comfortable and safe and loved in a relationship. That level of trust translates to so many other aspects of a relationship, and it is both scary and exhilarating.
I do this too. I had to explain to him why I sometimes start out saying one thing and do a complete flip by the end of a long run-on sentence. He now remains seated until the ride has come to a full stop. He never does this, so it was super odd to him.
There's always a few moments before we fall asleep where we'll just lay together, making eye contact. That may sound strange, but it always feels super intimate, and in a way that nothing needs to be said out loud. You're just sharing this moment, and know that there's nowhere else you'd rather be.
Of everything listed here, I think staring at each other is when I feel the deepest connection. I remember a time when someone would do that, and I would look away or question their intentions. But with her, I feel this warmth and exchange. No words, just a visual intake. We haven't hit the hour mark, but we will sometimes just stare, wondering and appreciating.
Although I'm good at sleeping long nights, I have trouble actually falling asleep. We'll cuddle, and with his big voice, he'll invent a story so that I can doze off to his soft, bass-like golden sound. Once, he summarized Star Wars episodes 1 to 3 since I hadn't seen them and expressed how much they sucked compared to the rest. It was amazing. Edit. Internet is sensitive today. Edit number 2. Episodes 1 to 3, as in Phantom Menace, etc. I like Star Wars, okay, just not the first 3 story episodes. Edit number 3. Rip my inbox with fans and haters.
He's wrong, leave him.
He goes to bed much later than I do, but he puts me to bed every night. I lay my head on his chest and play with his beard while he rubs my head. Then I will usually tell him, I need some skin, and I will untuck his shirt and put my hand up inside under his shirt and rub his chest, play with his chest hair as he rubs my head until I fall asleep. It is my favorite time of the day by far.
My husband likes to straight up lay on me with his head on my chest and fall asleep like that on the couch, like a toddler would. It's so sweet, I absolutely love it.
I climb into my girlfriend's lap like a toddler unexpectedly and just bury my face in her neck pretty often. Probably one of the safest feeling places in the world for me. Plus, she always smells good.
Let him see some of my OCD rituals that I don't let anyone else see.
My partner died 10 months ago. Reading this warms my heart. We shared many of the same things you're all describing. Cuddling, being sick together, being in hospital, being able to say, do the weirdest things without repercussions, sharing our tears, grooming each other. I think one of my favorite things was that we had a whole little language no one else understood, little mannerisms and abbreviations and gestures that were only funny or meaningful to us. We could also just tell what the other was thinking after 13 years of knowing each other. I could tell he was thirsty just by the way he looked around the room. We walked into a busy cafe once, and he immediately knew I wanted to leave so we could find somewhere quieter. My partner was also an Afghanistan veteran. I feel privileged to have loved and supported him through that experience. It was a big part of his life. I cherish all that. These intimate things are the things your special relationships are made of.
We cuddle together naked. I'll admit it sometimes leads to sex, but most times it's just something cute and intimate we enjoy after a long day. Feeling your partner's skin on your skin is so incredibly wonderful, not to mention it does leave you vulnerable.
We wrestle and play fight. I know if's weird, but it's so fun. Plus, he was an NCAA wrestler and has his purple belt in BJJ so he can twist me in any knot he wants, and it's oddly satisfying to be under his complete control, but it's actually not sexual.
And his name is John Cena.
Do.
Sometimes I wait until I hear the shower water stop, run and grab him a towel, rustle his hair with it, and run away. Not the most intimate, but that's what came to mind.
I sometimes stick a towel in the dryer while he's showering, so it's nice and warm when he gets out.
When we're cuddling naked in bed, I hold his flaccid penis, and it's the best feeling ever. Then we fall asleep.
My partner lets me do this too. I'll flop it around sometimes and he makes sound effects for it. Very silly and non-sexual.
I've finally found people who do stuff like this too, LOL. Sometimes after a bit of, fornication, I'll say thanks and have a conversation with his limp noodle, or give it a little kiss.
I have really severe chronic depression that intensifies during the winter months. Sometimes I have days where I'll spiral into this black hole of fear and hopelessness, and my lover will just hold me as tight as he can and tell me how much he loves me and how it'll be okay. It helps more than I can express, and it's so comforting to know that he's seen me in such a vulnerable state and still continues to love me the same. To me, it's more intimate than any sexual act could be.
Thank you for watching until the end. I put a lot of effort into each video, and I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a comment about what you liked or didn't like. Your feedback helps me improve. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay amazing.